Hello, students. Welcome to my class. I am Keerti, and today we are going to have a short session where we are going to discuss about population growth and adaptation. Okay, so this population growth, you are already aware that on Earth we are having various kind of population, various species that are there, and we are cohabiting, right? We all are living on Earth, whether there are plants or animals or some kind of microbes or different types of fungi. Okay, some are there which can be visual, which we can see through our naked eye, and some are present in our environment which are not visible to our naked eye, right? To study all these population, right, we have to simplify this process of studying, we have generated a new branch, that is ecology, that will going to deal with all kind of growth related uh, aspect of population, right? So when we talk about population, we are actually talking about a particular type of species when we are taking into consideration whether we are talking about the microbial population or suppose the growth of bacteria, or we are going to talk about a particular type of species of plant, right? So we have taken all these into a single subject, that is ecology, where we are going to study the interaction that is happening between all the population of organism whatever present in the environment. Okay, and these interaction between these organism and the environment, right? So you already know that environmental factors are, they are non-living, right? They are not having any kind of life. Okay, we are having various interaction from sun, light, the air, the water that we are using, all kind of uh, the all kind of the reaction that is happening. Okay, so there is a relationship between all these, right? So these in ecology, we are going to, in this session, we are going to discuss about the growth of the population, how this growth is measured, right? So this is an overview where we are going to study the growth, how they are interacting, and how they are adapting to their environment. Okay, so when we say that a population is growing, when we say the population is decreasing, so after this session, you are, you know, going to have some kind of idea about all these topic, right? So I already told you population is a group of individuals, right? Of same species, right? Which are living in a defined area. Okay. And of course, since they are living in a particular area, they are going to share the resources. They are of same species. It means they are going to interbreed, right? They will exhibit some kind of attributes. Like, what are these attributes? The birth rate, death rate, the growth rate. You are already aware, in our day-to-day life, we use the terms very frequently, right? When we talk about the population of, say, some country or some region, or in case of India, say, when we are talking about what is the population of UP or the MP, what is the birth rate there? When we want to compare the, the environment of these two region, right? So we are going to use some attributes. What are these attributes? They are birth rate, death rate, sex ratio, age distribution, and population density. These are the factors which will determine how the population changes, how we can, estimate the change, measure the change over the period of time using these attributes. See, when we are talking about an individual, we already know that if we are saying that somebody is born, somebody is dead. Okay, so when we are saying that we are taking into account a single individual, we say that whether that particular individual is dead or alive, right? We won't say that what is the birth rate of that individual. No, that is not the case. When we are talking about the birth rate, it means we are considering a large set of population of same species, of course. For example, if we are taking into account the human beings, what is the birth rate? How many birds are there? Okay, in a unit time, whatever time you are taking into consideration. If you want to go for a smaller period of time, say a month, or say a year, or if you want to go for a large period of time and you want to study the ecology of a given area, how it has changed from past, say, 10 years. So this depends upon the aim of your study, right? What your study aims to, what it is going to establish, right? So same goes for death ratio, right? Death rate. What is sex ratio? See, when we are talking about an individual, we will say whether this individual is a male or a female, right? We will not talk about sex ratio. But when we are considering an area where a number of people are living there, right? Then we will say what is the sex ratio of this population inhabiting this particular area, right? What is the percentage of male and female? Let's say we will say that this population is having 60% male, right? 40% female, right? So this is sex ratio. Okay. And when we are going to talk about the age distribution, right? This 60% of male will consist of individual of different group, right? If we take into account, say, some are young, some are middle age, right? Some are older people. Again, we can classify it if we are saying that this young population is less than 20 years. Okay, this middle population is between 20 to 50 years, right? And older people are between 50 to, say, 90, right? So these are all attributes. These are taken into account when we are going to study the population genetics, right? What is the population? What this population consists of, right? So these factors come into handy when we are going to study the ecology of a particular geographical area, right? Okay, this area may depends upon the cause of your study, right? If you are going to study the population, uh, population density of India only, right? Or you are taking account into more than two countries, or you are going to talk about the whole sphere, the talking about the earth, which region is having which kind of population, right? So these things come into handy. This is the way how this population ecology works. Okay. For example, this age population. See, this is the figure which is shown. You can see this expanding population. This is divided again into three types: post-reproductive, reproductive, pre-reproductive, right? Expanding population is one. This shows broad base. It means there are more of the young individuals, right? This again, the next one is stable population, right? This shows the uniformity, right? And other is declining population. When we say is declining population, when the pre-reproductive population is decreasing, then the population is declining, right? If there is uh, if no new individual is going to born, of course, if there is the young individual will not reach into the pre-reproductive phase, right? So it will not reach reproductive phase, right? So it means ultimately the post reproductive population will decline, right? So these type of age pyramids can reflect the growth trends. What is the growth? Whether in a particular area there are more number of older individual or more number of population which are young, right? Which are young in a pre-reproductive stage. Okay. Some may in the middle age, right? So these age pyramids can also be used to study the population density of an area. Okay. And now this the factors this how these attributes are affecting the population size. See, when we are taking into account the population density, how this population density changes. It either changes when the birth is showing the increasing population. It means there are number of birds, okay, more number of birds again and again. Yeah, or in each year it is increasing, or there is sudden, decrease in population because of deaths. Okay, if suppose some kind of endemic or pandemic comes, right? You are aware of the fact that we have recently faced the pandemic, the COVID-19. Okay, so what effect does it leave on us? We have seen that number of deaths and number of deaths have happened during that period, right? It means that the population must have decreased to some extent, right? So these are what? These rate will actually determine what is the size of the population at when we are considering a set period of time, right? For example, immigration, how many number of individuals have come from outside to that particular region, right? And immigration, departure of individual. See, what is the total effect of this population? This can be easily studied by this graph, this picture. Okay, of course, the birth will add to the population density, right? Same will the immigration. And if there are increase in number of death, it will decrease the population density, or more number of individuals are, you know, going out from that particular area. Say if we are talking about India as a country, immigration means how many foreign individuals from different countries are coming to India, right? And immigration is how many Indians are going outside this country and going to settle in different country, right? So they have settled there. It means a gap is created, right? Or how many births are taking place, how many newborn babies are born in that particular period of time, say 1 year if we are talking about, okay, and how many deaths are there. So this population density, how it can be finally taken into account, right? Population that was present at that particular time, right? And the total of this natality and birth rate and immigration minus the total of death and immigration, right? So this will tell the population density at particular time of period, right? Okay. Now, after studying this size of the population, we are going to study the growth models, right? That can be used to define a particular population, right? So there are mainly two types of models that are used, that are being discussed here in the NCRT. One is your exponential growth, the J-shaped curve, and second is logistic curve. See, this is the figure. How population is responding to the resource availability. Okay. First, we will study uh, both the curves, and then we will come back to this picture again to discuss in the graph. See, you are already aware that, say if a how this population is actually growing. There are resources. The resources can be in any form. For example, we as an individual human beings, when we are, living in a particular area, we are going to use all kind of resources that are available in that particular area. For example, we are going to use the food availability there, right? The amount of sunlight we are getting into. If say there is a lake or pond, we are going to use the water. Or in modern times, of course, we have water system available. We are going to extract. We are going to use water. So in that particular area, we are going to use the natural resources as well as the man-made resources present there to our optimum need. Right? But what will happen if, say, we have food for only 10 individuals for in that particular area, right? But slowly there are, suppose, say, 50 individuals. And suppose if 1 kg of food is there, or say 10 kg of food was there, it was there to be used by this 10 number of individual, but now the same food is going to be distributed among 50 individual. Of course the resources has declined, right? Okay, so there will be decrease in the growth of the population after this. If this 10 kg is now vanished, okay, now we are left with nothing. This 10 kg of food is already being used up. What will happen? Of course, this 50 individual, 10 from 10 was earlier. So this 40 plus 10 individual, right? This total of 50 individual, how they are going to survive? Of course, some will may die with hunger, right? Only those will survive who will overcome this situation, right? So in any population, there will be always the limitation of resources, right? And the growing of population will depend upon that resource that is available to them. Of course, if it will be see what will happen if we have 100 kg of food there. Of course, this 50 population will flourish. Sorry, what will happen? This 50 population will flourish, of course. They will eat food, they will do their activities, they will interbreed, they will produce more number of individual. Maybe this population will reach 200, right? So it means it all depends upon the type of resources. If the resources are going to present an unlimited amount, of course the individual, the population will expand exponentially, right? So to study this growth population, we are going to study two growth curves, right? One is this exponential growth. What will happen? When the resources are unlimited, the population grow exponentially, right? There will be, sudden hike in the number of individuals, right? And this can be described in the form of this equation, right? dn by dt is equals to Rn, where R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase. And this is going to produce the J-shaped curve, right? This we will discuss using that picture, right? And other is what? When the resources are in a limited amount. Okay, population growth slows and stabilize, right? So always happens, this stabilization will take place at carrying capacity, right? This carrying capacity is the capacity beyond which there will be no growth. This is the maximum amount of individual, the maximum amount of population that is there to use that particular resource, in a fixed period of time, right? And this will result in a S-shaped or sigmoid growth curve. But this is more realistic for natural population, right? This is more realistic, right? Because anything, you can think of anything that is present in unlimited amount. Of course, this will be you. Suppose you have, in your kitchen, you are going to have, um, 100 packets of chocolate, right? And you are only two people present there. Of course, you two will have 50-50, right? But what will happen if you have only 50 packet of chocolates there? This the two individual that are going to use that at 50 packet of chocolate, it will be 25-25. What will happen if two new individual come into the picture? Three more come into the picture. This will decrease, right? That is why the growth ceases. Okay, because there will always be a competition, right? That is why the principle of natural selection was given. You already know the nature selects the fittest population, the fittest individual from the population, right? It is because the fittest one will do all kind of stuff or will combat with the ongoing situation to survive. Okay, so this carrying capacity is what? This carrying capacity is the maximum population size an environment can support sustainably, right? Without making others to compromise. Okay, and this is determined by what? Of course, the resource availability, the type of space, and the competition. Suppose if a room has capacity to accommodate, say, 10 individual, what will happen if you are going to put 100 individual in that particular room? Even if they are standing, it will get very difficult to accommodate that 100 individuals in that particular space, right? So we can say the maximum capacity that a room can hold is 50. Suppose this is the space. Only 10 are there. It means this 10 can live very comfortably. They can use as much space they want, right? The maximum that it can support is 50. So they may live with some bit of difficulty, but they will, eventually will live in that particular area. But if this 100 individual, we are going to put them into that particular space and its carrying capacity is 50, this will create a havoc, right? Okay, how they will survive? Of course, they are going to kill one another in that competition. Okay, so this is the maximum carrying capacity that we talked about. Let's come back to this picture, this graph. This can be easily understand through this graph. See, this y-axis is having population density. This x-axis having time, right? See, what will happen if we are going to provide unlimited resources? This graph will grow exponentially. This is what exponential growth, right? This J-shaped graph, right? You keep on providing unlimited resources, the individual, the population will keep on growing, right? But in case of this realistic growth or this S-shaped growth, what will happen? We have limited number of resources, space, everything is limited. So what will happen? First, the individual will use, it will grow, it will, increase in its number. But a time will come that this population will get stable. There will be no further increase because there will be no space available, there will be no food available, right? And that is known as this carrying capacity of the individual, of the population. It means population cannot grow beyond this carrying capacity, because it is the maximum capacity that a population can hold in that particular area in a when there is availability of limited resources, right? And in this case, if you keep on providing food, this population will go, this graph will increase, this will increase, right? So there will be no check in the population, right? Okay. So I hope we are clear with this two growth curves, right? The G shaped, why this G shaped, why this S shaped, why this is realistic, because this is happening in real world. We are having limited number of resources, limited number of space. We cannot, propagate as much as we want. We have our limitation, right? Sometimes population, you know, re- evolve different strategies for creating, you know, for for surviving, let's say, right? For the survival purpose, they create many different strategies. For example, some of the organism, reproduce once only, right? For example, the fish is salmon, and some reproduces multiple times. For example, birds and mammals. These depends upon the type of environment we are in, the type of condition we are facing at that particular time, right? So it depends. It varies from individual to individual. We cannot say, like, see, bacteria, there is bacteria double its number in 20 minutes, right? Can we humans do? No, we cannot do. Can a single human can have as number of child as one wants? No, it cannot happen, right? Because we humans are different from other organisms, right? We give our child the nurture, the care that a child needs. Okay, we humans live in a very civilized way. But can this happen with the stray dog? No, the stray dog will give, uh, you know, for once it will give birth to 10 puppies, say 8 puppies, right? Some may survive, some may not, depending whether the food is available to them at that particular point, right? So these are variations. These will depend upon the type of individual, the type of environment, whether they are living in some kind of stress or not, right? So the adaptations, it means the changes that the physiological changes that an organism is undergoing to survive and reproduce in their habitat. These are of three types: structural, physiological, and behavioral, right? What are these? Say, the structural adaptations are some, you know, physical features that are aiding to survival. For example, the thick fur in polar bears for insulation. You know, during winter, we need to protect ourselves so that our heat energy do not get lost into the environment. So for that purpose, what humans do in winter, we used to cover ourselves with jackets, shawls, anything possible that is going to trap the heat energy into our body. But what happens with polar bears? They are living, in open area where there is minus of temperatures, right? So they have thick furs. thick furs to support. Otherwise, they will die. How they will survive in that harsh condition, right? For example, another example is the development of cacti. You have seen the cactus plant. It happens to be present in desert. So in desert, you already know there is very less amount of present there. So what they do, they develop some kind of spines that will actually reduce the water loss. Another example is the streamlined body in fishes. This helps them to, swim in the water for a very long time. So these are some kind of structural adaptations, right? Next is our physiological adaptations. What are physiological adaptation? Internal functions that enhances survival. For example, desert animal excrete concentrated urine to save water. It means maximum amount of water is being absorbed in the body, right? So that there is less urge to drink water again and again because the availability of water is very less in that particular area, right? So they have to use the water very carefully. Some of the alpine plants develop antifreeze protein, right? Some of the proteins that will help them so that they do not get frozen particular winter condition. The temperature is very low. And the camel, for example, the camel store fat in humps to survive heat and scarcity. So these are all physiological adaptation, something that is happening inside in our body or animal body or inside the plant's body. And next is the behavioral adaptation. These are actions that are being performed by particular type of organism, whether plants or animals, right? For example, in winter, birds migrate to warmer regions where there is more heat. And when the winter goes, the birds come back to their native places. Some of the animals, you know, go under hibernation during cold winters because the temperature above the soil is very low and inside it is warm. So they hibernate inside the soil, right? For during that particular period, of course they are not going to live there, they are not going to live there for a whole time, right? So these are all the adaptations that are being done by the organisms to support the survival, right? They need to support themselves, so they need some kind of modification. You already know we humans are very clever, right? We always maintain our physiological balance. We are always maintaining the homeostasis. How? See, when the temperature goes down, winter comes, we used to cover with jackets. We use the heat giving components like the what I'm forgetting the name. For example, say in summer we use AC, we use cooler, right? So we maintain a homeostasis in our environment. Even if outside our room there is scorching heat, in the room we are going to use our AC. So this temperature is maintained, right? So these are the changes that are done by every organism, be it plant, be it animal, be it humans, to maintain, to survive, right? So we have come to an end to this session. We have learned about what? The natality, mortality, and about the resources, right? These are all the factors which will affect the population growth. There are various adaptations the structural, physiological, and behavior that enables a particular organism to survive under the varying environmental condition, right? So all these will help in what? Managing the biodiversity and ecosystem effectively. Okay. So hope I'm clear with this session. I request you to go through your NCRT. If you are having any doubt regarding this session or my previous sessions, you can contact me through my Urban Pro profile. Okay. Till then, keep learning, keep revising, keep going through all the terms again and again so that, it get memorized, right? Okay. Till then, take care. We will meet in our next session. Thank you.